Our next speech today will be a power duo. You're going to get two amazing ladies. The first one I'll be introducing is Gretchen Scott. She's a trailblazer in tech industries, celebrated for innovative leadership and unwavering dedication to diversity and inclusion. As a founder of Kaleda, she empowers organizations to build skill-based teams that truly reflect the kaleidoscope of society. Previously, Gretchen served as a community manager at Cloudflare, and following its acquisition of Link.sh, where she was the chief operating officer. A seasoned public speaker, Gretchen has shared her expertise on platforms such as Entrepreneur, Triple R Radio, and MCs all of the Churchill Club events. She's also spoken at leading conferences, including Web Direction, Code Leaders, and DDD Melbourne. She actually flew in from Melbourne, so you know, and hosted several series on Cloudflare TV. She is also a published author on Lead Dev, and her passion lies in driving diversity within technology, making her a key figure in shaping the industry's future. Alongside her is Akanksha Malik, who is a data and AI consultant, Microsoft AI MVP, and an international speaker. As the founder of Paths Uncovered, she is dedicated to showcasing non-traditional routes in technology and encouraging diversity and inclusion in the industry. Her belief is making technology, particularly AI, accessible to all that is evident through the numerous community events, meetups, conferences that she organizes. She's the co-founder and director of Women Codes along with Gretchen, and dedicated to building a more equitable world. Please welcome the ladies.
Thank you for having us. As you've heard, we've spoken at DDD in Melbourne, but it's my first time in Perth, and I think you win. This event has been better than DDD Melbourne, but don't tell them, I'll get in trouble. Great talk before by Tanya, and she covered off a lot of stuff that we're kind of going to add to a bit. But I love that piece around, you spoke to, no one really cares about your career more than you, so look after it yourselves. I love that. But we're here to say, the world is wobbly, right? There's economic fluctuations, there's tech advancements, there's shifts in the industry. It used to be that if you were good at tech, you kind of had a semi-guaranteed decent income. But that's not it anymore.
Before we get started, it is great to have you all here, and Tanya kind of covered this off pretty well, I think, in the previous slide about the sponsors. I mean, Gretchen's painted a pretty doom and gloom photo picture of the industry at the moment, but it's clearly not all bad if we're all here together and we're all celebrating tech, and in this stunning venue, to be quite honest. And yeah, DD Melbourne is being put to shame a little bit. Feedback's to be brought back still. But let's get started with today's session.
So Akanksha and I met, we keep arguing about this, 7 or 8 years ago, and we met to start Women Who Code Melbourne. We've been running it for a long time and have a big community there, but what we've been hearing in the last couple of years is people going, what's happening? I'm not getting any career progression, and I'm really just anxious about having a job at all.
So today we're going to actually dive in on this specific topic and really kind of consider how you can go ahead and just safeguard that career a little bit more and just be a little bit less anxious in the world, because there's enough of that to go around, to be honest.
And there's been so much movement in the job market lately. I mean, we used to really think, well, I did, that I was in the safe zone because I wrote good code, therefore I'd be employable for the rest of my life. But not just employable on a bit of a kick-ass salary as well.
So look, it's not just about layoffs at the end of the day. There is more to it altogether. But we're going to dive in. It's a whole new atmosphere and like the way of the industry. And we're going to cover off kind of 4 main strategies to help you navigate the new landscape. So we're going to talk a little bit about kind of building adaptable skills and staying agile within them, kind of being able to fluctuate between different things that come up as you go, leveraging your network, the biggest thing, I swear, and also just putting some of these skills and kind of strategies into a more proactive way as you start planning out your career on a yearly, quarterly, weekly, I don't know how often people do it, that kind of a basis.
But before we get started, let's have a little look at now. And I'm just going to be wildly depressing with a tiny bit of hope. I mean, for the last few years has been the first time in over 2 decades that we've had software engineering layoffs at this level. But by the same token, we've seen it before, right? There was Y2K and .com. So that's, if you're old enough to know, it's cyclical and it does pass.
Yep.
But, I mean, there is some good news at the moment. I read a report that recently said, so far 2024 has had the least software engineering layoffs of the last 2 years, so maybe we're on the up.
It's the most glass half full approach I've heard today, I'm not gonna lie. But look, after all of these years of just unprecedented levels of growth, right? It's kind of been drawn up by AI developments and just cloud adoption across the world. It was great, but it was also kind of at an unsustainable pace. So that's kind of what we're seeing the breakdown of here, right? It's just, we're going at a wild level of just rapid adoption of everything, and we're just taking a minute. So it's not necessarily too much to be worried about, I hope. Might be back here biting our words, but we're hopeful we won't be. But this is a new phase. Companies aren't scaling as quickly anymore. VC funding is getting harder to find. I mean, unless you're chucking AI into a pitch deck, you'll find money very quickly.
No, I went through and I updated ours. I took out everything blockchain and I put AI in. I've had way more meetings.
It works very quickly. But look, in general, the market does feel a little bit tighter, and that's okay. There is there are other areas that are still growing, and it's going to be okay, and there will still be a demand for talent. Cybersecurity, data, AI, they're still going to keep going, and there'll be just newer jobs that we're going to start seeing.
I agree. It's kind of confusing, right? Because on one hand there's layoffs, and on another hand there's heaps of growth, and it's how do I get those jobs?
So let's jump into our first strategy, which is all around building those adaptable, future-based skills. And look, the idea here is to kind of shift from thinking about job titles as one entity, where this is what I'm going to do for the next 40 years. And we've basically stepped away from that. We're now seeing a lot more different careers happening in one lifetime. And just within that, I kind of want you to think about job roles as different skills. So you've got a fundamental level of different variations, and you can kind of pick and choose which one you want to scale up on in different roles. So one role might have more communication and teamwork and things like that, whereas one might be more technical heavy. It's just being able to adapt and pick and choose whichever one you need at a certain point.
And kind of taking on from Tanya's talk a bit, sorry, I feel like I'm stealing all the stuff that she set us up for success here. Sometimes you find yourself in a job and you've asked for a promotion and you're pretty ready to go, but they don't have the money, right? At that point, what I would say, when you feel like your role's stagnating, negotiate the bejeepers with them, because I am yet to see an organisation in Australia with the security capabilities they need, right? Like not a single one has enough security knowledge within their engineering teams. So why not negotiate for your workplace to pay for you to get upskilled, right? It's a bit of a win-win. You get the skills, which make you far more employable with them or without them, but you're also setting yourself up for a promotion if and when they get the finance up and running.
Yeah, and look, there's companies like Oracle and IBM, which in the last few years might not necessarily be seen as like big tech, essentially. Like I've not really heard their names pop up as often as the other ones, but they're still hiring for these skills. And it's not just technical focused skills that are getting hired in roles. If you have a foundational level of AI, an understanding of how AI works, you don't need a PhD to be able to do this. There's enough content out there for you to just get a quick look of, okay, how can we leverage certain different aspects of it in different areas? That's enough to get you a really, really good place and position to be in for roles like, I don't know, like product management, UX design. That would be very, very helpful in actually planning out a lot of different aspects of solutions. And there's just so much aspect of moving different variations that's something to keep in mind as you move forward.
There was something you said there that I just want to build upon, and it was around, it's not all technical skills. I don't want to call them soft skills, we call them strengthen and support skills in our organisation. Because they strengthen and support the team. But I think everyone should always have a focus on developing their communication skills and their feedback skills, because those are the things that will differentiate you and make you not be the brilliant jerk, because that guy's not getting a job. But sorry, I got sidetracked on that little quest there. There was stuff I was actually meant to say here. There's a piece too around when you focus on skills and skill acquisition and skill development, what you're really doing is saying, this is what I can control in my world.
So all I can hear is the wind. But look, when you are focused on your skills, you can kind of make peace a little bit with the things that you can't change. There's all this stuff happening in the world. It's not great. It is slightly wobbly at the moment. And there's only so much you can do about that, but you can control what you can learn and how you can manage your skills ahead of the time. So the whole aspect of kind of staying agile in this slightly dynamic is such a pretty word. Wobbly is very accurate to me at the moment. But the only kind of main takeaway we want to point out here is just be ready to pivot. And that's not saying you need to be a 10x developer tomorrow on any new content and like whatever new tech that becomes the next buzzword. All that means is being able to learn really quickly and being adaptable to new skills that are coming through. So just being able to say, hey, this seems to be a new thing and I'm going to keep up to date. So if this is the next aspect of my career that I want to look into, I kind of know which way and how I go about doing that. And in general, I think I kind of touched on this a little bit. You don't really have a career for 4 years for one job anymore. As we're evolving faster than ever, really, we're also looking at traditional paths that are not really linear anymore in general.
I love this because I've had the weirdest career of just about any person you've met. So I used to work doing Louis Vuitton events at one point. I used to do an agricultural trade show, and we used to race tractors. Like, how Kiwi can you be? I've worked with breast surgeons. Like, I've done everything. So I love what Akanksha's said here around career paths aren't linear. They're really all over the show. And I mean, she knows better than me. She's got a podcast called Paths Uncovered, which literally talks to people about non-traditional pathways within technology. I think we can expand upon that a bit more though. The career ladder is a bit of a hoax. It's like this really boring, straight up pathway. I mean, your parents love it because then they can kind of boast at Christmas time and say, my kid got this promotion. I think it's more realistic to think about a career jungle gym because they are wild and chaotic and a whole heap of fun, right? Like, you can climb up the ladder a little bit and then swing off to the monkey bars and hang out on the merry-go-round. I don't know, you do you. But at every point while you're on this jungle gym or what adventure playground, you are learning new skills, and it might not be, you know, junior dev, senior dev, that pathway, but you're still learning something that is transferable and useful.
Yeah, and look, I know we talk about takeaways from every presentation and stuff. I'm going to give you homework. Look around yourselves. There's going to be enough people here that have had all these side quests. Like, Gretch is slightly a bit of an extreme. There's been too many side quests, I think, at times. But
I love a good side quest.
There's people around you that will have all these fascinating stories. Go find them. I think I found someone who is a speaker, actually, who was a farmer on Reunion Island for the last 12 years and has now pivoted into tech. These people exist everywhere. Their stories are fantastic to listen to. And it's really, really interesting to see how they've managed to stay agile in the current environment. And I'm sure you're going to learn something from it.
There was another piece within that around not every job you have, like we talked about the jungle gym and changing your trajectory. There's different ways of working, right? Like, you could work hybrid, you could work in the office. You need to have some idea about what are your go, no-goes in terms of that. Like, some people will never, ever, ever go back to an office again, and that's okay. They're putting some other stuff aside. But sometimes they might want to do what Akanksha does. She's got the most beautiful portfolio career, whereby, you do contract work sometimes?
I don't even know what I do anymore. My parents are really worried. But I do a lot of things, I think, like being here today. But yeah, portfolio careers is the new title, I think. We like it.
Love them. Our third strategy is around leveraging your network and your personal brand, as much as it makes me feel icky to say. I hate that personal brand piece. But in this kind of environment, the who you know is even more powerful than what you know. Like, I hate that, but it holds. LinkedIn had some data recently that said, if you've got a white dude name, you are 1.5 times more likely to land a tech job than the rest of the population. So my surname is Scott, and I am never changing it because it has opened so many doors for me. No, I'm not kidding. Like, it literally, the amount of people that assume my name is Scott Gretchen, so I can write code, holds. And I've had opportunities because of it, and I just go with them.
I mean, I might change to Andrew at this rate. Who knows?
Akanksha, Andrew, it
About
holds.
the same.
But that same piece of research, though, that said, so white dude name in tech gives you a 1.5 times more likely to land the job. That was poor English. But if you were referred by someone in your network and their network, that changes to 4.5 times more likely to get the job. So can't you stay with your name and get a referral? Make a friend, it might help you through. There is a caveat to networking and getting referrals, right? Don't take more than you give. Like, don't be that person.
I mean, I don't know if anyone's had this happen to them, but it's not exactly the nicest thing to meet someone for the first time and then you wake up to a message on LinkedIn being like, hey, can you give me a job? Like, that's a bit abrupt. I don't expect it. And look, the whole aspect of this is kind of building that credibility over time. All of it kind of revolves around, hey, what are you doing? How can I trust you to be the best person for any job going forward? And you can do that by visibility, right? You don't need to necessarily be talking to every individual like once a week, making sure they know who you are. Sharing your insights, sharing the different things you've been working on or the things you've learned across different projects. They don't need to be a daily post on LinkedIn. people probably get annoyed by that too. It's become less and less of a professional thing and more social media at this stage. But sharing that consistently, just so that it's being put out there, will build that visibility as well as that credibility. And people will go to people they trust at the end of the day.
And it shows that you're actively involved in the community. And I think community is another huge part of networking. I mean, you're all here at DDD, which is one of the coolest communities. Slightly cooler than Melbourne, but Melbourne's one holds, all right? Like it's pretty good. But there's other communities. Akanksha and I met at Women Who Code. That's a really great supportive space. There's a whole heap of other online developer forums. And sometimes when everything just goes to custard, you need those community people around you so you can have a bit of emotional support, sense check, help, maybe just, I don't know, a brisk walk somewhere so they can tell you to pull yourself together.
They will know probably better than most people around you outside of the industry exactly how to help you. But it's scary. It's not the easiest thing to do. So if you are an introvert, what have you got for us? Tell us more. How do we do this? How do we do the LinkedIn and leveraging your network bits?
So here's an interesting thing. I actually test on profiling as an introvert. Says me up on stage. And there's a thing around meeting people and networking that makes me want to do a little vomit, like more so than being on a stage. I get really anxious. So I've learned a few things over the years from screwing it up spectacularly, like next level. I can make people awkward in about 3 seconds. But I have learned some things. Well, 2 things. One is, most people are actually really interesting. Like maybe they were a farmer, maybe they did work with a plastic surgeon and sell boobs. Like there's really cool stories that people have to tell you. And also the other thing is people love talking about themselves, right? Like I just got up on stage and told you my whole career history. So if you go into these networking events and ask like genuine questions about people and not like an interview or an interrogation, like, what's your name? How did you end up here? And then follow on from what they said back to you. 2 things will happen. One is you'll learn some interesting things, hopefully. And the other is they will feel kindly towards you because if you've cared about them and asked questions and they've got to talk about themselves, they'll have this like, it's a nice person.
All right, okay, look, on to our last point today. And this is kind of more about putting all of the things we've talked about together. It's really kind of making that proactive stance on really planning your career strategy and putting it into action. So look, this is what we've talked about all day long. How can we be really in place to not just be reacting to the market, but kind of ahead of the curve just a little bit so you're ready when things change?
I think you should be, again, Tanya has done the whole talk for us, you should be continually upskilling. You should be looking at what else is going on out in the market. It's not to say you need to be an expert in all the things, but you have to have some kind of idea about what's going on. There's a website, it's US-based, so it's called TrueUp, and they start assessing which skills jobs are looking for, or job ads are looking for. It's a nice place to go and just go, oh yeah, the demand seems to be swinging this way or swinging this way. And if it's something you're interested in, you can start looking into it.
And look, prepare financially too, right? That's something we kind of tend to not talk about as often. And I'm not saying expect a layoff tomorrow from work, but at the same time, God, we've really talked about layoffs so much today.
I had to talk.
We swear it's looking up, I swear. But as you're considering being able to pivot and being able to take these risks in changing careers, having that level of financial comfortability or just even a cushion underneath you makes that a lot less stressful down the line. So make the assumptions of how much of an expense is it going to be to change careers. Is it going to take 3 months of downtime to be able to upskill and then re-find a job within the new area? Make sure you're actually doing the research involved with that. And that research doesn't necessarily have to just be, let me Google this. It's finding the community like this and finding the people who are in it to be like, hey, how long did it take you to find a job? What is the market looking like right now? Are you hiring? How is that process looking like? How are the candidates? What are they really showing us in the market at the moment? Really dig into it. And I feel like I talked about this constantly, but like your non-negotiables. When it comes to money and your budgets, find your non-negotiables and really, really dig into it because your wants and your needs are very separate. And the things that might be a non-negotiable for me won't be the same for someone else. So really dig into that to really find out what you actually need out of an income or a specific number you're looking for when you go find a new role.
I used to be so anxious about that because I don't want to look at my finances, just like you don't want to tell that senior dev they're not good enough for promotion. I used to just avoid it. But when you finally do open that can, you're like, oh, it's actually not that bad. Often you don't need as much of an income as you think you do. But lens 2 from Tanya, keep a record of your accomplishments, your successes, the projects that have gone well, the new skills you've acquired. Because if you're going for your promotion, you need some data points behind that you can go, oh, hey, I've done these things, this is how I contributed, and these are my skills. But you also need that if you're going for another job, because those accomplishments are the things that you'll talk about. There is a few little self-promotion. Collider have a career passport we've built out that helps people do that online, but you can literally just have a folder on your desktop.
And look, the aim for today isn't the fact that we have planned out your next career for the next 10 years, whatever. That was never the plan. All we're really giving you are things that you probably know about, but we're just bringing that back up to the front to give you the pointers to kind of think about again over the next little bit. We are wrapping up 2024 pretty soon. It's running right at us. I think it's about 24 working days left in the year. But it's a good time to actually rethink about what the next year might look like, what your next goals might be. So taking these things into consideration as you plan out the next year might be a little bit helpful.
Righto. So takeaways. This has been a really fast journey, and I'm sorry, I feel like we've just speed dumped on you. But we want you to be adaptable.
Kind of developing new skills at almost any given level, whatever scale, whatever size you want. Just be looking at new things and taking them in as you go.
And think about some lateral career moves. So hop on that jungle gym instead of the ladder. The ladder's boring.
Everyone's been doing that. Try something new. And also just building your network. I know I joked about not having takeaways and only homework, but like, please do take the homework seriously. Like, you've got such a good community. Like, talk to the people around you. You've got like, I don't know, 800 people here to go picking brains at, and then you can catch up with them over the next year. If you find 12 people, do one catch up a month, you've expanded your network unbelievably wide.
And I have specific homework. If you find this farmer, because Akanksha told me to try and find them and I haven't been able to, bring them to me. But other than that, thank you, folks. You've been a really great audience. And again, Melbourne sucks a little bit at this point.
I'm starting to feel offended for Melbourne.
All right, hands together for the ladies. Love it.